Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Author by Heavenly Overlord. Translator by NYOIBO Studio. Audio novels by Novelist. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 176, defeated by one move. The scarlet raging flame fell onto the arena. Rumble, rumble. The arena shook with a loud bang. Even the ground shook lightly from the bang. Lu Qian staggered along the floor and he almost overturned onto the floor. His eyes were filled with surprise. The sudden appearance of the red light had caused the arena to burst into an uproar. Looking at it, in the center of the arena, the ground sunk in and broken rocks splattered all about. A scarlet shadow stood tall and upright on the spot quietly. He had unique silver hair and a handsome face. Many people immediately recognized this disciple who was quite reputable in the faction, Su Yu. Although he had only entered the faction for half a year, he had accomplished many impressive and miraculous feats. However, many people felt that he was unfamiliar, especially people whom Su Yu was well acquainted with. Mo Wu's eyebrow twitched slightly. Her snow-like eyes were filled with surprise and an unfamiliar feeling. After being separated from Su Yu for 1.5 months, Su Yu gave off a totally different vibe. The blood-colored seal in the space between his eyebrows was like a lump of flame. The flame looked lifelike as though it was a real flame and it gave people a charming and unusual feeling. Combined with his silver hair which was fluttering, his temperament was extremely unusual. Is that the rumored Su Yu? Although he looks frightening, he is very charming. Among the disciples, some of the young ladies' faces turned red and they spoke softly and haltingly. Although his temperament was extremely unusual, it did not give off an ill feeling. Instead, it made him more mysterious, which attracted the attention of the people. Mo Wu frowned. She did not know why, but she could slightly feel a ridiculous amount of pressure from Su Yu. When she looked at him attentively, her beautiful eyes were filled with surprise that was rarely seen from her. Her lips opened slightly and she gasped. 6th level peak Holy King. Just by drinking water, he is able to make a breakthrough to 6th level peak Holy King. The second elder's pale eyes were filled with admiration and fondness. His cultivation base is a lot higher than that. There is a great pressure on his body and it seems like it is intentional. In the past, the second elder stated plainly that Su Yu had no chance to enter the ancient Xuanhuan temple. Back then Su Yu's difficulties and situation were indescribable by words. However, the current Su Yu had gone against overwhelming odds and came thus far. As she admired Su Yu, she grew fonder of him. Su Yu had returned. Xuanhuan frowned slightly and her expression turned cold. There are no slots available for you to participate in Xuanhuan contest, step down now. Su Yu looked at Xuanhuan calmly. His gaze actually caused Xuanhuan's heart to beat extremely fast and also feel extremely uneasy. Do you have the right to decide whether there are slots available for me to participate in Xuanhuan contest? Su Yu's gaze was like a sharp arrow which pierced through Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan swayed her body slightly. She would have to retreat somewhere else to avoid his gaze. Within her heart, a wave of astonishment appeared. Half a year ago, Su Yu escaped from her hurriedly as she chased after him. At the cost of Li Guang's life and the protection of the Li family, Su Yu managed to survive. He, who was once an ant, was able to make her feel fearful. The second elder's hoarse voice echoed throughout the arena. There are 10 slots available for the disciples from the abyss of Wutong. However, all of them have been captured and only Su Yu is left. Hence, it is natural that there are slots available for Su Yu. Li Xian's faction master nodded his head indifferently and he had no objections. Although the Great Elder and 10th Elder frowned slightly, they did not rebut against the Second Elder. Since the higher-ups had come to an agreement, Xuanhuan could only cast aside her hostility. She then nodded her head coldly. You can participate in the assessment. I do not need to explain much about rules. Against a 7th level Holy King, the more moves you withstand against him, the more outstanding your results will be. The current highest score is 4 moves. After her speech, Shi Ruolan's gaze floated towards Lu Qian, who was at one side. Go down first and wait for him to finish his assessment. Lu Qian frowned slightly and glared at Su Yu discontentedly. Is there any need for me to go down? He is just a trash who will be defeated by one move. Although he noticed that Su Yu's cultivation base had risen greatly, who could break his record of 4 moves? However, even though he was discontented, he still followed Shi Ruolan's words and stepped down from the arena. When he passed by Su Yu, he hummed coldly. What a waste of time. Su Yu ignored Lu Qian. In Su Yu's eyes, Lu Qian's shadow was inexistent and his gaze fell on Wu Baiyi calmly. Do I make my move first, or will you make your move first? A number of disciples secretly shook their head. Su Yu is so full of confidence. He actually has the guts to let Uncle Master Wu make his move first. If that is the case, there is no suspense in this match. Since Uncle Master is going to make his move first, Su Yu will not have any chances to make his move. Numerous 7th-level Holy Kings leisurely crossed their arms as they watched the match. In particular, a tall and pretty lady shook her head and sighed softly. Humph. In the past, I have heard that Su Yu is arrogant and conceited. From today's observation, it seems that it is true. Beside the pretty lady, a bookworm's eyes were filled with disdain. He also had hostility towards Su Yu which was concealed. Senior Long Fan, I have heard about the matter regarding Junior Yang Fan. The Abyss of Wutong's recruitment assessment was a fair match between Junior Yang Fan and Su Yu. As Junior Yang Fan was unable to defeat Su Yu, the slot to enter the Abyss of Wutong was snatched away. Hence, Senior Long Fan, why are you venting in anger about Su Yu? Long Fan's gaze became cold and he hummed coldly. Yao Hong, are you talking to me? The young lady was known as Yao Hong. Her lips shivered slightly and she had a fearful expression. She then kept quiet angrily. Within her heart, she was full of resentment. With a cultivation base of 7th level peak Holy King, Long Fan was the 4th Elder's first disciple. As for Yang Fan, he was the 4th Elder's second disciple. To Yang Fan, Yao Hong was a person who was difficult to flatter. Regarding the matter where he forced a married woman in the faction to submit to him, Yao Hong acted as though she did not hear of it. Afterward, when Yang Fan was injured by Su Yu in front of the audience, that female disciple then managed to free herself from the devil's hands. As his senior, it was unavoidable that Long Fan would feel hatred towards Su Yu. Humph. Trash like him can only withstand 2 moves from Wu Baiyi at most. He wasted the resources of the Abyss of Wutong for no reason. However, the scene that unfolded shortly after in the arena caused his voice to cease abruptly. Su Yu's calm eyes had caused Wu Baiyi to reveal a struggling expression and Wu Baiyi dared not to make his move for a long time. In the end, he laughed bitterly and cupped his fists. I concede defeat. After his speech, he stepped down from the arena as numerous people stared at the scene and became stupefied. Having not expected this scene, Shi Ruolan was slightly stupefied as well. Wait, your duty is to examine the abilities of all the disciples. What do you mean when you say that you concede defeat? Shi Ruolan said to stop Wu Baiyi. Wu Baiyi turned his head and forced a smile. Clan Master Shi, I have no rights to examine Su Yu's abilities because he is many times stronger than me. Only by facing Su Yu squarely, one would then notice that mountainous pressure from Su Yu. When Wu Baiyi stood in front of Su Yu, although Su Yu did not make his move, Wu Baiyi had a feeling that he was facing a landslide. Wu Baiyi's instinct told him that if Su Yu made his move would be so powerful that the mountains would collapse and the earth would crack. That absolute oppression from the Su Yu's aura had allowed Wu Baiyi to understand clearly that he was far from being Su Yu's opponent. His answer had caused the whole arena to become extremely still. Su Yu had the abilities to defeat Wu Baiyi. If that was the case, as the genuine strongest 6th level Holy King, the only slot to enter the next selection round belonged to Su Yu. The sudden turn of events had caused many people to be unable to react. Long Fan turned stiff. He immediately shook his head and said with a low voice, Impossible. Although Wu Bai's abilities were not strong, how can that piece of trash catch up with him? There were countless people who thought the same way as Long Fan. Many people even suspected whether the examination was fair. Without a fight, Wu Bai conceded defeat on the spot. To the audience, it was extremely fishy. However, the faction master and the 10 elders' expression were normal and they did not rebut Wu Bai's decision. Shi Ruolan could only frown and she declared indifferently. The first round of selection has come to an end and the victor is Su Yu. Compared to Su Yu, Lu Qian had only managed to withstand 4 moves of Wu Bai. However, Su Yu had the abilities to defeat Wu Bai. Hence, it was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. Lu Qian was stunned. He finally reacted. Hold it there. I am not satisfied. Lu Qian leaped on the arena and his whole face was full of anger. Without going through a fight, what basis does he have to obtain the only slot to enter the next selection round? Are you questioning me? Shi Ruolan asked indifferently. No. I am questioning him. Lu Qian shot his gaze towards Su Yu. He then extended his hand and pointed at Su Yu's nose. I wish to have a duel with you. Su Yu had a calm expression as if he did not hear what was said. He then turned his body and walked down the arena. Having been ignored, Lu Qian became even more furious and he bit his teeth. Su Yu, stop being arrogant. Eat my attack. Big Dipper's 7-star fist. Lu Qian took advantage of the opportunity to get close to Su Yu and his attack headed towards Su Yu's back. Mo Wu's expression changed slightly. Su Yu, be careful. Yao Hong frowned slightly. A surprise attack. What a sly person. Humph. This is good. Since he is so insolent, he must pay a price for his insolence. Long Fan revealed an expression which took pleasure in other people's misfortune. Lu Qian's surprise attack suddenly became inconspicuous and he did not give Su Yu any time to react. The power of his fists headed for Su Yu's back and there were no obstacles to block it. Seeing that his surprise attack was going to succeed so easily, Lu Qian laughed coldly and scornfully. Your standards are not as good as I have expected. Rumble. Bang. His fists finally landed on Su Yu's back. However, before his fist struck Su Yu's back, a thread of weak scarlet light shaped like a lump of small flame appeared from the body surface of Su Yu's back. However, when that inconspicuous small flame collided with Lu Qian's attack, Lu Qian's expression suddenly turned serious. Ah! After giving a horrible shriek, Lu Qian suddenly spit out a mouthful of blood. His blood contained a thick cold energy which changed into blood-colored pieces of ice and there was a voluminous amount of them. His body was as if it had been subjected to an unprecedented amount of energy and it was sent flying for hundreds of meters. He was sent flying from the arena directly to the auditorium. Rumble. Bang. The auditorium was filled with smoke and the hard floor which was made of bluestone caved in. Lu Qian's mouth was full of blood and he was half dead. His organs were damaged and many of his bones were broken. In particular, the flesh of the right fist that he used to launch his surprise attack had rotted and his pure white bone turned into powder. His right hand was crippled. Su Yu, what did he do? It was obvious that Lu Qian had launched a surprise attack. However, Su Yu did not even turn his head. To be exact, he did not even care about Lu Qian. He did not even lose a single strand of his hair. However, the extremely strong Lu Qian was wounded and disabled. The huge contrast between Su Yu and Lu Qian caused the people to gasp. Wu Bai was also shocked. However, in his mind, he was rejoicing. The strength of Su Yu's counterattack was extremely frightening. If he took the initiative and attacked first, then, thinking about that, Wu Bai swallowed his saliva forcefully. Yao Hong's beautiful eyes were full of surprise. Long Fan was stupefied and his expression immediately turned gloomy. You piece of trash. The speed at which you improve is indeed fast. In the past, Su Yu could only defeat Yang Fan by a narrow margin. At the current moment, he was extremely strong. His change from the past to the present was extremely huge to the point that he had become a completely different person. As the audience gazed at Su Yu had a calm and happy expression and he walked down the arena quietly. That charming and unusual face, as well as the unusual silver hair, had become the only scenery in the audience's eyes. Xuanhuan glared at Su Yu deeply. A thread of unusual feeling flashed across her deep eyes. The first round of selection has come to an end. Su Yu has succeeded in entering the next round of selection. You have 2 hours to rest and prepare for the next round of selection. After her speech, the audience in the auditorium was whispering to one another, and it looked like they were discussing the match which had just occurred. Su Yu's soul-stirring match had shocked many people, and they were all guessing the true abilities of Su Yu. The protagonist in their mouth then walked towards the second elder quickly. His eyes reflected her ugly yet familiar silhouette, and his heart still felt grateful to her. Greetings to second elder, how are your injuries? Knowing that it was Su Yu after shooting a glance, the second elder displayed her old habit and she wore a fierce expression. Do I require your concern? Su Yu laughed loudly within his heart. After which, his expression turned grave. Second elder, how is Xiana's condition? Why didn't she come? Don't worry, she will not die. The second elder hummed coldly. Mo Wu could not help but sigh. You do not need to worry. Master had passed on many cultivation techniques to Xiana and had also bestowed her with numerous elixirs. She is currently training and she can leave the secluded area after 2 months. 2 months later would be when the Phoenix of Death descended upon Xiana. Whether she lived or died would depend on Su Yu's action. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 177, The Unmatched Holy Kings. By the way, Mo Wu took out 2 envelopes. These are the envelopes from your senior, Zhao Guang, for the past 2 months. Zhao Guang. Su Yu tore open the envelope and looked through the letter and smiled. Zhao Guang was doing well as per before, and his cultivation base had successfully made a breakthrough to 2nd level Holy King. However, Su Yu did not understand something. In the 2 letters, it mentioned again that every moonlit night, a person would secretly pay his offerings to Li Guang and leave behind precious elixirs for Zhao Guang to train. Second elder, can I ask that when Li Guang was at the faction 100 years ago, does he have any good friends who are still alive at the very moment? Su Yu questioned the second elder. 100 years ago, the second elder had secretly helped Li Guang before. Hence, she might understand Li Guang's situation. As for that good friend who paid his offerings to Li Guang, Su Yu felt extremely grateful to him. Who knew that the second elder became stupefied, and she suddenly asked, Who is Li Guang? Mo Wu looked at Su Yu up and down with a strange expression. How is it possible for the master to be acquainted for Li Guang? Master is only 30 years old, how will she know about things that happened 100 years ago? Rumble. Mo Wu's words were as if it was a bolt from the blue, and it reverberated in Su Yu's mind. Master Li had said clearly that 100 years ago, with the help of the second elder, Li Guang's fate of being executed was changed to being exiled to Xuanhuan Island. Basing his calculations on the amount of time that had passed, the second elder should be over 100 years old. Su Yu was shocked, and he said subconsciously, Isn't second elder an old hag who is over 100 years old? Who did you say is an old hag? The second elder asked sharply. Even if she was disfigured, she would not tolerate a little kid regarding her as an old hag. Mo Wu's dark eyebrow frowned like the moon and said after pondering for some time. Could the second elder whom you are referring to the previous second elder? The previous second elder. You should have heard of this before. 10 years ago, an elder died. That person who died was the second elder. Mo Wu quietly shot a glance toward the direction of the great elder. Su Yu was slightly shocked. He had indeed heard of something related to that rumor. The great elder and the 10th elder were extremely powerful. There was once an elder who went against the great elder, and he disappeared without a trace in the end. Hence, he was labeled as deceased. Could it be that that was the previous second elder? Master took on the role of the second elder 10 years ago. Hence, she does not know what happened to the Li Guang that you mentioned. You have asked the wrong person. Having understood the entire process, Su Yu gasped. Does this mean that second elder became the faction's second elder at the age of 20? Mo Wu's mouth twitched lightly and she concealed her proud expression. Of course. Who do you think is the legendary elder in Liaxian faction? If it had not been for Master's injuries 10 years old which caused her cultivation base to remain stagnant, by now, what is the great elder in faction Master? Master would be able to kill them with a flick of her finger. A number one genius through the ages. Su Yu could not believe his ears and he stared at the second elder. His heart found Mo Wu's words hard to believe as well. Her cultivation base did not progress for the past 10 years. If she had not injured herself back then. Humph. Who do you think you were looking at? The second elder hummed coldly. If observed carefully, certain parts of the second elder's frail body was unnaturally stiff. Evidently, within her heart, she felt comfortable when she saw Su Yu's shocked expression. The second elder did not concern herself with other people's reactions as she had passed the age of vanity. As for Su Yu alone, she was quite concerned with his perspectives toward her. Mo Wu's master's reaction had caused Mo Wu's heart to be upset and Mo Wu gave a light hum. In short, the second elder whom you were looking for had died a long time ago. Hence, Master would not be clear about what happened to Li Guang. After her speech, Su Yu stopped thinking about Li Guang and he sighed silently. It would be difficult to find out who was the elder who paid his offerings to Li Guang. However, after he had taken the heads of Shi Ruolan and Han Ji, he would wait in front of Li Guang's grave and thank that elder when he came. The second round of assessment, get ready. Shi Ruolan's dull voice could be heard leisurely. Su Yu turned his head and fixed his eyes on Shi Ruolan. His eyes were cold. He would forever not forget that Li Guang died in the hands of a lover that he had missed for 100 years. Compared to Han Ji, a cheap woman like Shi Ruolan be killed. As if she had noticed Su Yu's gaze, Shi Ruolan shot a glance towards Su Yu buoyantly. After which, she moved her gaze away in an instant and ignored Su Yu's murderous intents. Mo Wu frowned slightly. The second round of assessment is similar to the first round of assessment whereby it is another round of selection to sift out the strongest martial artists. During this round of assessment, only 5 people will be selected to enter the final battle. Su Yu looked around. Apart from him who earned the slot to participate in the next round of selection from among the 6th-level Holy Kings, the remaining people who were selected were all 7th-level Holy Kings. Among all of them, there are 3 people that you need to look out for. They are known as the 3 Unmatched Holy Kings. Apart from the 3 of them, among the faction, no Holy Kings have been able to defeat them. Among the 3 of them, Rong Hanming is number 3, Yao Hong is number 2 and Long Fan is number 1. The 3 of them are 7th-level peak Holy Kings and they stand above all the other Holy Kings. Among the faction, no one can defeat him. As for Long Fan, he is above the other 2 of them. He is also known as Half-Dragon, and he has had experience of fighting with people who are of the Dragon Realm. Su Yu's eyes swept past the 3 people. Rong Hanming was wearing a woven straw raincoat and his head was wearing a plaited bamboo hat, causing him to look mysterious and unpredictable. Yao Hong was tall, beautiful, bold, and brave. Her jade-like hands were playing a jade-like bamboo flute. Long Fan wore a scholar's outfit that was luxurious. He had fair and clear skin as well as a tender temperament. A fan with mountains and rivers imprinted on it was stuck on his waist. The 3 of them were dressed differently and they had different temperaments. Many 7th-level Holy Kings gazed at the 3 of them. Their gazes were filled with veneration as well as intents to fight him. Among the 7th-level Holy Kings, the 3 of them stood at the summit. They were unmatched mythological figures who were proud and could mock the remaining Holy Kings. For 5 whole years, no one had been able to break the boundaries and reach their stage. As long as they have yet to become dragons, the remaining 7th Holy Kings would continue to be oppressed by them and it would be difficult for them to stand up. Those 3 people were the strongest opponents throughout the current course of battles that Su Yu faced. In particular, Long Fan was known as the Half-Dragon and anyone of the Holy King's realm would be unable to match him. For the rules of the second round of selection, it will be a group battle. 50 of you will be split into 10 groups and the strongest person in every group will be the champion. After which, the champions of every group will be promoted to the top 10. Next, the top 10 will duel with one another and the 5 strongest people will enter the final battle in the third segment of Xuanhuan contest. In actual fact, anyone who entered the third part of the contest would obtain the right to enter the ancient Xuanhuan temple. Only 20 people could participate in the final battle during the third segment of the contest. Among the 20 people, 15 of them are martial artists of Dragon Realm, while the remaining 5 of them were the 5 strongest martial artists who had been sifted out from the second round of selection. The final battle at the third segment of the contest had more meaning as it would rank the geniuses according to their level of abilities. I will draw the names immediately. 5 people will form one group. Within the group, everyone will have a chance to fight against the other group members. The person who attains the most number of victories in the group will become the champion. After her speech, Xuanhuan drew the number plates randomly and arranged the 57th level Holy Kings in their groups one by one. Su Yu was allocated to the 10th group, the last group. He looked at his group members. There was a 7th level Peak Holy King, 2 7th level Upper Tier Holy Kings, a 7th level Lower Tier Holy King, and lastly, Su Yu. Mo Wu nodded her head slightly and shook her lightly. His luck is neither good nor bad. Since you were not allocated to a group with any of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings, your luck is considered good. However, within your group, there are 3 people with a cultivation base of 7th level Upper Tier Holy King and above. Hence, needless to say, your luck is bad. Among the 50 people, there were only 15 people with a cultivation base of 7th level Upper Tier Holy King and above. However, 1/5 of them were gathered in Su Yu's group. Hence, one could imagine how intense the competition would be in Su Yu's group. In your group, the 7th level Peak Holy King is named Cheng Hao. He had fought with Rong Hanming of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings before and was only defeated after 10 moves. Hence, his abilities are quite strong and he will be a formidable opponent. Cheng Hao. Su Yu nodded his head slightly. However, before that, the other 9 groups must finish their duels one by one first before reaching your group's turn. You should take this opportunity to see the abilities of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings. In the first group, Rong Hanming of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings was inside of it. The first group, please step onto the arena. As for the specifics of the duel, everyone will have 4 chances to fight. However, there is an exception. That is, the appearance of someone with 4 consecutive wins. Once there were 4 consecutive wins, it meant that the person was unmatched against the other 4 people and the results of the remaining duels would become meaningless. Hence, the duels in the group would end earlier. First group, first match, Zhen Shicheng vs Meng Ting. Zhen Shicheng and Meng Ting were both 7th level Peak Holy Kings. Both them arrived at the center of the arena and they had a bitter expression. Although they were strong, they were grouped together with Rong Hanming of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings. They were indeed unlucky. Since this is the case, they can only measure their strength with their duel. If they are able to come across Rong Hanming, they will give it their all. Zhen Shicheng's spiritual energy was vigorous and his way of attacking was brave and fierce. As for Meng Ting, her movement techniques were quick and skillful. Although she looked gentle, she was firm. Wave's palm. Gentle green liquid's finger. Pitter-patter. Both of them exchanged blows. As both of them had their own strong points, they held back. Hence, it was difficult to tell who was better with one just move. However, straight away after that, both of them exchanged their moves 10 times. Although Meng Ting was at a disadvantageous position, it was still difficult for Zhen Shicheng to pin her down completely. Both of them were running away and chasing the other respectively, causing their shadows to stagger with one another and they were locked in battle. It was only until the 78th move that Meng Ting was sweating all over her body. She was puffing and panting and her chest was rising and contracting continuously. She had used up most of her energy. As for Zhen Shicheng, his spiritual energy was more vigorous, causing his to be slightly superior to Meng Ting. In a situation where she had depleted most of her energy, Meng Ting was unable to use her gentle techniques to counter Zhen Shicheng's strong and fierce techniques. Hence, she gave a frail hum and stepped down from the arena. That match went on for 1 whole hour. The victory goes to Zhen Shicheng. You will rest for a few minutes and your next opponent will be Rong Hanming, Shi Ruolan declared expressionlessly. Zhen Shicheng's expression changed slightly. He bit his teeth and made full use of his time to recover his spiritual energy. Whiz! A shadow of a woven straw raincoat and a plaited bamboo hat silently flew into the sky and descended onto the arena. Under the plaited bamboo hat was an indifferent and impatient face. Even if you recover your spiritual energy, you will still be defeated by me. What a waste of time. Zhen Shicheng was a bit furious. Rong Hanming, don't underestimate me. During our previous match, I managed to withstand 5 moves of yours. This time around, I vow to defeat you. Rong Hanming's gaze floated onto Zhen Shicheng. After some time, he withdrew his gaze buoyantly. Your confidence is stupid. After a few minutes, Zhen Shicheng had more or less recovered and his eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Let's begin our duel. I, Zhen Shicheng, will shatter the myth of the 3 unmatched holy kings. Rong Hanming's expression did not change. He took out a bamboo pole which was wrapped with fishing line and a fishhook from his back. Looking at Rong Hanming's stance, Zhen Shicheng felt a huge amount of pressure. It was Rong Hanming's unique skill, winter fishing. When Rong Hanming executed his move, he changed unfathomably and his attack was hard to guard against. In order to deal with his move, one must gain the initiative by striking the first move. If not, by remaining passive, one would be defeated even faster. Wave's palm. Zhen Shicheng extended his palm. The air had a rippling effect and was swaying as well, giving people a feeling that space was distorted. Layers of wind from the palm piled up together and attacked Han Rongming with a momentum that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. Han Rongming's eyes were dull. Winter fishing pattern 1. When he flicked his wrist, the bamboo pole on his palm emitted a rhythm that was indescribable with words. The fishing line was then flung. Even though it was evident that the fishing line moved slowly, it gave people a feeling of uncertainty. The fishhook at the end of the fishing line emitted a dazzling light that was as bright as snow. Pitter-patter. The fishhook neutralized the air current and the layers of wind from the palm sliced open in the sky. Winter fishing pattern 2. The fishhook's momentum did not change. After it sliced open the wind from the palm, it headed for Zhen Shicheng. Zhen Shicheng's expression changed. As he retreated, he exhibited Wave's palm repeatedly. By overlaying many layers of wind on his palm, he blocked the sharp fishhook. However, he had no time to be at ease as straight away after that, he could hear a voice which said, Winter fishing pattern 3. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 178. A Tyrant's Unmatched Power. Titter. A lump of frightening spiritual energy passed through the fishing rod into the fishing line and arrived at the fishhook. Suddenly, the fishhook was shining with an astonishing sharp light. It sliced open the wind from the palm and with the momentum of a thunderbolt, it hooked onto Zhen Shicheng. Rong Hanming flicked his wrist and raised his fishing rod lightly. Zhen Shicheng then became like a fish and he was tossed out of the arena onto the auditorium. Puff! Zhen Shicheng spit out blood on the spot and he gasped with astonishment. In the previous year, he could withstand 5 moves from Rong Hanming. However, at the current year, he could only withstand 3 moves. Rong Hanming kept his fishing rod indifferently. With just you alone, you have no rights to shatter the myths of the 3 unmatched holy kings. After his speech, he shot his gaze toward Yao Hong and Long Fan with an overwhelming intention to fight him. The 2 of them were formidable opponents who could defeat him. As for the rest of the holy kings, they were weak. Mo Wu nodded her head. Rong Hanming has improved greatly and his abilities are comparable to the abilities of Yao Hong of the previous year. Su Yu, it looks like you will have a lot of difficulties. It was Meng Ting's turn to fight Rong Hanming. Meng Ting specialized in using gentle techniques and she had a slight advantage over Rong Hanming's winter fishing. Hence, although Meng Ting was unable to defeat Zhen Shicheng, she successfully withstood 4 moves from Rong Hanming. Compared to Zhen Shicheng who withstood 3 moves, she had withstood 1 move more. When Meng Ting was defeated in the arena, she did not feel depressed. Instead, she felt delighted and she smiled. Thank you, Senior Rong, for going easy on me. Rong Hanming stood still on the arena for a long time. He then smiled. Compared to last year, your abilities have improved greatly. If you concentrate on your gentle techniques, you will definitely make a name for yourself in the future. Meng Ting's face turned slightly red. She had a grateful expression and her beautiful eyes were filled with pride and admiration. Senior, thank you for your advice. I will bear it in mind. Rong Hanming nodded his chin and continued his duel with the two remaining persons. They were 7th level upper tier Holy Kings. Although their abilities were strong, it was far from being comparable to Zhen Shicheng and Meng Ting. Hence, they were defeated within 2 moves from Rong Hanming. When the 4 matches came to end, the referee declared the end of the duels in the first group. The duels in the first group had come to an end with an astonishing speed as they ended in less than an hour. The second group, begin. Chi Ruolan declared indifferently. In the second group, Yao Hong of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings was inside of it. Although she was also a 7th level peak Holy King, she had abilities to suppress Rong Hanming. Every time she made a move, she would use her jade-like bamboo flute to defeat her opponents. When she opened her mouth, she would play her jade-like bamboo flute with a graceful rhythm that was pleasant to the ear, causing anyone who listened to it to be drunk. However, within the sound from the bamboo flute, a sound wave attack was hidden in it, causing anyone who listened to it to faint. It was difficult for a 7th level upper tier Holy King to block against the first rhythm. Even if it were a 7th level peak Holy King, it would be difficult for him to block against 2 rhythms which were overlaid onto one another. 4 matches came to an end in a few minutes. Compared to Rong Hanming, the 4 matches came to an end in an even shorter amount of time. From the start to the end, Yao Hong handled all the duels with ease and she defeated her 4 opponents easily. Mo Wu nodded her head slowly. Similarly to Rong Hanming, she did not display even half of her powers. Third group, begin. Chi Ruolan declared the start of the duels in the third group after the duels in the second group came to an end. After her speech, the audience who became extremely excited from Rong Hanming and Yao Hong's battles became even more excited at the very moment. Long Fan, the unmatched mythological Holy King who was known as Half-Dragon and was also the strongest disciple among the Holy Kings, was in the third group. Within Lixian faction, he, who was at the top of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings, was the closest to Dragon Realm. His existence was a natural moat that the rest of the Holy Kings looked up to. As long as he continued to exist, everyone else would continue to look up to him. No one had managed to shatter his myth of being undefeated among the Holy Kings. For 2 whole years, he had not fought anyone. Among the Holy Kings, he was unmatched. Long Fan, step onto the arena. Chi Ruolan shouted lightly. Long Fan sat in the auditorium firmly. His snow-white shirt remained still and did not move. His eyes were calm, undisturbed and filled with tastelessness. In his eyes, he found it unworthy to take on any matches with Holy Kings. In other people's eyes, wonderful matches appeared one after another. In his eyes, those matches were considered not interesting at all. When it was his turn to go onto the arena to duel with his group, his eyes were filled with no intention to fight. His gaze swept around the surrounding and landed on the group members of the third group. However, those group members who were swept past by his eyes were filled with veneration and fighting intentions. A gaze from the undefeated mythological figure of the Holy Kings was sufficient to cause those group members' blood to boil with excitement. Against many gazes that wished to have a match with him, Long Fan's expression became indifferent and it was full of disappointment. Among all of you, none of you are worthy of me. Please surrender, I do not wish to waste time. The expressions of the 4 Holy Kings who wished to have a match with him turned serious and it gradually became that of anger. However, unexpectedly, none of them felt ashamed. It was natural for them to be looked down on and to be underestimated. This was because the person who underestimated them was Long Fan. It was Long Fan, the undefeated mythological figure among the Holy Kings. I concede defeat. One of the group members sighed and conceded defeat. I concede defeat as well. I concede defeat. All four of them conceded defeat. Rong Hanming and Yao Hong had used their abilities to defeat members of their group. As for Long Fan alone, his words caused his opponents to cast aside any thoughts of battle with him. At that moment, without a doubt, the power of the undefeated mythological figure became clear. Shi Ruolan looked at Long Fan at the corners of her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a seriousness that was rarely seen. When placed under their care, he was also known as the undefeated mythological Holy King, similar to whom the disciples perceived him as. Long Fan was a legendary disciple of the Holy Kings. Fourth group. The audience felt that it was a pity. The most intense and most exciting match that they were extremely looking forward to ended just like that. The matches which carried down after that were considered dull and uninteresting. Long Fan shut off his eyes completely, sat down quietly and did not move. For the remaining matches, within every group, there would normally be opponents who were equally matched in strength. Hence, the matches came to a deadlock and did not end as fast as per before. The audience gradually became less interested in the matches as the tediously long battles continued. When it was the sixth group's turn to duel with one another, a number of disciples either became tired and took a rest or spoke to one another. The numerous battles atop the arena no longer caught their attention. The 10th group. It became the 10th group's turn to duel. By then, some audience had left the auditorium. The second round of the assessment had gone on for too long and the matches were very repetitive. Hence, anyone would lose his patience. First match. Cheng Hao vs. Su Yu. The noisy and fidgety audience suddenly became quiet. Pairs of eyes suddenly paid attention. Cheng Hao, that Cheng Hao who remained undefeated after withstanding 10 moves from Rong Hanming, one of 3 unmatched Holy Kings. He is actually in the 10th group. Interesting. It is rumored that he is right behind the 3 unmatched Holy Kings and he is also the person who has the highest hope of shattering the undefeated myth of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings. Yes, I have seen him fight before. Among the 7th level Holy Kings, with the exception of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings who had exceptional abilities, no one could match Cheng Hao. A number of disciples turned back as they were about to leave. The noisy auditorium gradually became quiet with the appearance of Cheng Hao. Mo Wu frowned slightly and she could not help but worry. As for the second elder, she was also slightly worried about Su Yu. Even she had also heard of Cheng Hao's reputation. Cheng Hao was a person with talents that were considered outstanding. When Long Fan of the undefeated mythological Holy King heard Cheng Hao's name, his eyes twitched slightly and he slowly opened his eyes. His eyes, which were full of dullness, revealed a light that was seldom seen. It was as if he had found an opponent who was worthy of him. When his gaze landed on Cheng Hao's opponent, Su Yu, he shook his head lightly. This is the end of the line for you. Whiz, whiz. 2 shadows reached the arena at the same time. On one end, it was Cheng Hao who wore embroidered clothes that were magnificent. On the other hand, it was Su Yu who was incredibly handsome. Cheng Hao shut himself off from the outside world for 1 year. I wonder how strong he is now and I am really looking forward to his fight with Rong Hanming again. Yes, Cheng Hao had withstood more than 10 moves from Rong Hanming before and I wonder how well he will perform this year. There is no rush. Let's discuss this after his match with Su Yu. Recently, this Su Yu has not been in the spotlight for quite a while. However, as a new star, he had managed to climb up the ranks and be on par with the disciples of the older generation. He is also considered one of the strongest. That's right. Looking at how he injured Lu Qian just now, his abilities should be comparable to that of a 7th level upper-tier Holy King. Combined with the rumors that he specializes in fighting with someone of a higher cultivation base, it looks like he can withstand about 1 or 2 attacks from Cheng Hao. At the same time, we can see how strong Cheng Hao had become over the past 1 year and Su Yu would serve as a decent touchstone. Many disciples competed with one another to witness the match. Cheng Hao became famous when he was a young man. Hence, it was natural for him to feel arrogant. He was above 25 years. When faced with Su Yu, who was only 15 years old, he could not help but frown slightly. He had heard of Su Yu's reputation. It was said that he was a genius who was from outside the sanctum, and he climbed the ranks abruptly. In more than half a year, he had risen step by step from a holy king to a 6th-level peak holy king. He rose abruptly like a comet, and he brought about a miracle that could not be surpassed outside of the sanctum. Still acceptable. After using his eyes to measure the abilities of Su Yu for some time, Cheng Hao then opened his eyes normally. Su Yu's gaze was distant, and his expression was dull, as if it were a quiet lake in between autumn and winter that had no waves. I will give you a chance to make your move. Although his voice was soft, everyone could hear him, as the arena was very quiet. Everyone who heard him became stupefied. If Rong Hanming was the one facing Cheng Hao, would he dare to be so arrogant? Was it because of the fact that Su Yu's abilities had risen abruptly that he was so confident? When they recalled the fact that Su Yu was 15 years old, the audience felt relieved but sighed at the same time. Although he is very talented, in the end, he still has a mindset of a young man who cannot remain calm. I think we should not come to our conclusion too early. When he fought Lu Qian just now, all of you thought that he was extremely rude. But in reality, that is because Su Yu's abilities were extremely high, and that was the aura that he gave off naturally and unintentionally. Su Yu did the same thing as Long Fan. Even though it was the same thing, the audience admired Long Fan, the undefeated mythological holy king. As for Su Yu, he was labeled as rude. A number of people gradually turned silent, and they looked at Su Yu attentively. You are right. Su Yu might be out of the ordinary, and he should be able to fight with Cheng Hao. Atop the arena, Cheng Hao frowned. Do you think that you are in a favorable situation? I have seen many people like you. Before he could finish talking, he was interrupted by an indifferent sigh. You are noisy. I have already given you the chance to make your move. Cheng Hao's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to get angry, he suddenly felt an extreme pain in his abdomen. When he looked down, his pupils shrank. He did not know when, but a fist had struck his abdomen. Many fragmentary shadows of the fists appeared blurrily. It gradually became clear when Cheng Hao started to feel the pain. What became clear to him at the same time was an arm as well as its owner who extended it, Su Yu. A noise which broke the silence could be heard. Su Yu's attack actually came earlier than the noise. OWH. The fierce energy from the fist spread across his body from his abdomen and exited from his back. His organs shook greatly, and a mouthful of blood gushed out from Cheng Hao's mouth. The fierce energy engulfed his body, causing him to be sent flying for hundreds of feet, and he crashed into the auditorium forcefully. Cheng Hao's face was full of astonishment, and he could not believe that he was defeated in this manner. Without even having the chance to make his move, he was sent flying out of the arena. No, to be exact, Cheng Hao did not even manage to react, as he did not know when his opponent attacked him. That speed, which was faster than the noise which broke the silence, caused him to not have a chance to react. After becoming silent for a long time, sounds of people gasping could finally be heard. Cheng Hao, who was undefeated even after 10 moves from Rong Hanming, actually did not even have a chance to make his move. Su Yu withdrew his fist calmly. The red light at his back faded away, and the outline of a giant pair of wings dispersed leisurely. Su Yu swept his eyes, and his eyes landed on the 3 remaining group members. He then said indifferently, "Do you still want a match with me?" I concede defeat." One of the group members whom his eyes landed on swallowed firmly and conceded defeat on the spot. Since Cheng Hao had been defeated, what about him? I concede defeat as well. Me too. As soon as Cheng Hao appeared on the arena, he was defeated by 1 move. As for the 3 remaining group members, they were so frightened that they surrendered. Su Yu's tyrannical aura had shocked the entire arena. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 179, Yellow Dragon's Green Cloud Movement. Long Fan's eyes flashed. After some time, he shook his head indifferently. A movement technique that is faster than the speed of sound. In addition, if Cheng Hao was not arrogant, he would not have won so easily. Mo Wu's beautiful eyes were filled with surprise and admiration. A pretty good movement technique that is comparable to the dragon realm. However, her eyes swept past Long Fan and she sighed. If that is it, against Long Fan, there will not be any suspense regarding the outcome of the match. Chi Ruolan was stunned and her pupils were filled with a giant wave of astonishment. For that attack just now, even if it were she would be unable to capture it clearly. This meant that Su Yu, who once fled in panic at her hands, had surpassed her in the field of movement techniques. In the past, she had a premonition that she would die in Su Yu's hands one day. As of then, that feeling became even more intense. Her mouth closed slightly. Although she wanted to say something, there were still some forms of uncertainty within her heart. In the end, she stopped herself from saying the words that she wanted to say. Her expression returned back to being cold and she glared at Su Yu coldly. She then declared expressionlessly, 10th group, Victor, Su Yu. At that moment, the 10 strongest martial artists from the second segment finally emerged. The 3 unmatched holy kings who defeated martial artists of similar cultivation bases as them, as well as veteran 7th level peak holy kings whose abilities were outstanding. Lastly, the king of the new stars who won by displaying his tyrannical power which shocked the whole arena, Su Yu. From the Fallen Star contest, the quarreling and fighting during the wedding which occurred after that, and his fight with Xuanhuan with all his might all the way up till the Xianyan contest, at the very moment, Su Yu had gone against overwhelming odds and attracted the attention of many people dazzlingly. It was correct to say that he is the king of the new stars. Next, it was the second segment's final battle, the 10 Great Contest. The top 5 would earn the right to stay on the arena and enter the final segment, Xianyan ranking competition. At the same time, this also meant that the top 5 would earn the right to enter the ancient Xianyan temple. Su Yu's hard work thus far was for the sake of entering the ancient Xianyan temple. At the current moment, he was not very far away from his objective. The 10 Great Contests rules, random battles. Chi Ruolan shot a glance towards Su Yu profoundly. The 10 of you will be on the arena altogether and the 10 of you will fight a random battle. The 5 remaining people on the arena will be promoted to the top 5. There is only one rule. You must defeat at least one person. If you rely on evading all the attacks to stay in the arena, you will be eliminated as well. Putting it in simple terms, if a person wanted to stay in the arena, he must defeat at least one person. After which, before 5 people remained, he must stay on the arena and not be defeated by anyone else. Everyone understood the rules. There was only one rule. In other words, there were no restrictions on the methods used as long as they could defeat their opponent. Those restrictions included teaming up. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The 10 of them retreated, looked at one another face to face and gathered in 2s and 3s. In particular, 2 teams appeared and every team contained 3 people, totaling up to 6 people. The remaining 4 people were indifferent and had no intentions of teaming up. They were the 3 unmatched holy kings and Su Yu. The expression of the audience turned grave. A random battle was the time to accurately measure one's abilities. It was only during the instant where the outcome of the battle between both sides could not be determined that one would unleash his potential. Compared to a normal assessment, the effects of a random battle were greater. However, the level of difficulty was greater as well. Especially when there were big teams. When 3 7th level peak holy kings team up, even if it were a person from the 3 unmatched holy kings, he needed to be careful. Moreover, there were 2 teams in the arena. At that moment, the martial artists who did not team up were Su Yu and the 3 unmatched holy kings. Many people could understand the actions of the 3 unmatched holy kings. Among the 3 of them, any one of them had the ability to suppress someone else of the same cultivation base as them. However, Su Yu, could it be that he, who defeated Cheng Hao, had the confidence that he could the 3 unmatched holy kings? Although Su Yu defeated Cheng Hao with one move, Cheng Hao had fought with Rong Hanming before and he had a record of being undefeated even after 10 moves of Rong Hanming. However, anyone could tell that the wrong Hanming at the very moment could not be compared to the past, and Cheng Hao might not be able to withstand many moves of his. Hence, Su Yu was alone and he was in a dangerous situation. Yao Hong's eyes swept past the arena and landed on the two big teams. Her eyes were filled with a bit of fear. Senior Long, Junior Rong, how about the three of us team up and sweep the arena clean? Yao Hong suggested. Rong Hanming pondered for some time. His eyes were filled with a thread of fear and he nodded his eye. Sure. Even though he was confident that he could handle the two big teams, he did not want to be arrogant as it might cause him to suffer an unexpected failure. The chance to enter the Xianyan contest, which was held once every 5 years, was hard to come by. Senior Long, how about you? Having recruited Rong Hanming successfully, Yao Hong felt at ease and she asked for Long Fan's opinion. Who knew that Long Fan shot a glance towards Rong Hanming and Yao Hong coldly. Only the weak will team up. It is fine for both of you to team up and there is no need for you to call on me as well. Yao Hong's pretty face turned red. She felt embarrassed and furious at the same time. Rong Hanming almost lost his temper. However, his lips wriggled due to his fear and he did not rebut against Long Fan in the end. Senior Yao, who is our target? Rong Hanming's eyes flashed and landed on Su Yu, who was alone. As an undefeated black horse, Su Yu had shocked the whole arena during his previous match. Hence, it was difficult to not attract the attention of Rong Hanming. In a contest where both of us needed to team up, Junior Su actually dared to act alone. Shall we try him? Rong Hanming's eyes, which were under the plaited bamboo hat, became narrow and it was filled with hostility. Him. Yao Hong looked at Su Yu attentively. Her eyebrow became crooked and she looked as beautiful as a crescent moon. After some time, a light of pity flashed through her eyes and she shook her head lightly. Forget it. It is quite rare for a new star of the younger generation to emerge. If we team up and ruin his future, it will be a pity. Let's give him a chance to mature. After a few years, we might have a new formidable opponent. Isn't that great? Rong Hanming was not satisfied and he frowned. A few years later, after training in the ancient Xianyan temple, it will be difficult for him to catch up with us. In the ancient Xianyan temple, the higher one's ability was, the greater his development would be. Their gap between each other at the very moment might not be big. However, after going through the ancient Xianyan temple, their gap would become bigger quickly with an explosive momentum. However, Rong Hanming did not rebut against Yao Hong's intentions and he nodded his head in consent. I understand. Within Yao Hong's heart, she wished Su Yu the best of his luck. As if he had noticed what was going on, Su Yu smiled at Yao Hong to express his gratitude. Yao Hong smiled valiantly and did not take it to heart. She teamed up with Rong Hanming, chose a 3-man team and headed for them. Atop the arena, Su Yu and Long Fan stood still for a long time at their original position and they did not move. The eyes of the remaining 3-man team swept past both of them and the 6 eyes landed on Su Yu coincidentally. Let's get rid of Su Yu first. Long Fan is too strong and we might even be his opponent even if we team up. Let's get rid of Su Yu, team up with the other 3-man team and get rid of the other 2 people of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings. The 3 of them came to a consensus quickly and they headed for Su Yu at the same time. Su Yu had a dull expression and his mouth opened slightly. His silver hair was fluttering in the air and the fire seal between his eyebrows twitched. He had a face as handsome as a celestial being and he gave a smile which was weird and unusual. So, you have chosen me. Su Yu smiled unusually. It was evident that he was still smiling at his original position. However, with a flash of a red light, he moved in the blink of an eye and appeared in front of the 3 of them. The expressions of the 3-man team changed and they were shocked. What a frightening speed. When observing him from a side, they thought that it was nothing. However, when they experienced it firsthand, they understood the fear that their body could not feel. Against Su Yu's head on a surprise attack, the person who led the 3-man team did not even have the time to react. Within his pupils, Su Yu's silver hair and fire seal were particularly charming and unusual. At that moment when he was about to be attacked, a ray of yellow light that was like a thunderbolt descended from the sky. The yellow light was a step faster than Su Yu, and a palm was thrust into the body of one of the team members of the three-man team. Puff! As he spat out blood, he saw that tall and sturdy shadow within the yellow light clearly. With just a glance, he revealed an astonished and confused expression. Long Fan. The person who stole the first move from Su Yu was actually Long Fan. Shrouded by the yellow light, one of Long Fan's hands was behind his back and he retained his stance whereby he extended the palm of his other hand. The corners of his mouth carried dullness and mockery. That silhouette was just nice standing in front of Su Yu. Su Yu's movement technique was already extremely fast, that it was faster than sound. Among the Holy Kings, it was difficult to meet someone who matched his speed. However, Long Fan was able to be a step faster than Su Yu, and he stole Su Yu's target before Su Yu managed to make his move. Long Fan's movement technique was brilliant and it had reached a frighteningly high level. At the very least, it was way above Su Yu. Any person with good sense could tell that Long Fan's actions were intentional. Long Fan's motive was to use a shocking method to tell Su Yu that the movement technique that he was so proud of was nothing in front of him. Mo Wu frowned and sighed silently. This is the reason why there is no suspense regarding the outcome of your match with Long Fan. Because Long Fan specializes in movement techniques that are way above Su Yu's movement techniques. Among the Holy Kings, Long Fan's movement techniques were undefeated and only martial artists of the Dragon Realm could fight him. Su Yu frowned slightly. The tip of his toes touched the ground lightly, and with a flash of his silhouette, he headed towards the two remaining 7th-level peak Holy Kings. However, at that moment before he made his move, a yellow light flashed in front of him. Long Fan had used an unsurpassed speed to rush ahead of him and drive the two 7th-level peak Holy Kings at the same time. In just a few breaths' times, Long Fan had used his power, which could govern a country, to sweep away a three-man team. The exhibition of his power that made him undefeatable among the Holy Kings had shocked the whole arena. In particular, he was able to rush ahead of Su Yu and defeat all of his targets. Looking at it, the power that made him undefeatable became clear. Su Yu frowned even more. Long Fan had driven two people out of the arena. Moreover, Yao Hong and Rong Hanming had teamed up and successfully defeated one person. Hence, there were only 6 people left. Once there are only 5 people left, the battle would come to an end. As Su Yu had no time to argue with Long Fan, he turned his body and rushed towards the three-man team that Yao Hong was fighting. He wanted to defeat the last person and earn the right to become the top 5. Rong Hanming used his winter fishing, hooked onto one of the members of the three-man team and tossed him high up into the sky. Once he falls off the arena, the battle would come to an end. When that time comes, Su Yu, who had not defeated a single person, would be eliminated and he would be unable to enter the ancient Xianyun temple. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. He chased after that member of the three-man team to defeat him. However, at that moment, with a flash of a yellow light, a tall and sturdy back which was perfectly straight stood in front of Su Yu and blocked him. Without even turning his head, Long Fan said leisurely, "You have shown off enough. It is time for you to return back to where you belong." Su Yu was furious and he stopped chasing after that member of the three-man team who was about to land on the floor. Instead, he stopped moving and his expression gradually turned cold along with his gaze. "Well, by defeating you, I can get into the top 5 as well." Right before Su Yu made his move, Yao Hong, who had paid close attention to what was happening, frowned. In imminent peril, she extended her hand, grabbed the member of the three-man team who was about to fall out of the arena, and pulled him back into the arena. "Su Yu, catch him." Yao Hong exhibited her heroic spirit. With a swing of her jade-like hand, she tossed the member of the three-man team towards Su Yu. She pitied Su Yu and she could not bear to see someone with ill intentions ruining his future. Hence, she lent Su Yu a helping hand. Long Fan raised his eyebrow and an ominous glint appeared abruptly. "Are you looking to die?" Rustle. Long Fan's silhouette was like electricity. He thrust his palm towards that member of the three-man team who had been tossed over, and he wanted to defeat him before Su Yu. However, as he was thrusting his palm, Yao Hong's pretty eyes stared at something. She snatched Rong Hanming's fishing rod, flicked her wrist and hooked onto that member of the three-man team with the fishing rod. As that member of the three-man team deviated to another direction, Long Fan thrust his palm onto the air. At the same time, that member of the three-man team was thrown in front of Su Yu. Su Yu became stupefied for some time. He changed his initial posture, which was about to attack Long Fan, to a fist attack towards that member of the three-man team. With a horrible shriek, he who was miserable and had been tossed around many times was finally driven out of the arena by Su Yu. As such, the three unmatched Holy King, Su Yu, and one of the remaining members of the three-man team remained on the arena, and all of them totaled up to 5 people. The battle had come to an end. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 180, Who is Undefeatable? The remaining member of the three-man team was unable to defeat an opponent in time, and he was eliminated as a result. Hence, only Su Yu and the 3 unmatched Holy Kings met the requirements to be promoted. Yao Hong, do you know what you have done? Having allowed Su Yu to successfully get the chance to enter the ancient Xianyan temple, Long Fan was extremely furious. Yao Hong's eyes were filled with fear. However, her heart felt magnanimous and she did not have any regrets. She tried to reason with Long Fan. Without a bitter and deep-seated hatred, why do you want to ruin someone else's future? Junior Su has outstanding talent. If he is given the chance to train in the ancient Xianyan temple, he will become an extraordinary person in the future. Within her heart, Yao Hong secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The second round of the assessment had come to an end. Although she had offended Long Fan, thinking that she would not meet him again, she did not need to worry about him taking revenge on her. When her heart became at ease, Yao Hong walked towards Su Yu and blocked half of his body. Her intention to guard him was obvious. Feeling grateful to her, Su Yu did not know whether to laugh or to cry. Although Long Fan was strong, Su Yu did not feel any fear at all. Only a real match could decide the outcome between both of them. Yao Hong's intention to guard Su Yu had completely angered Long Fan. His eyes were gloomy and it was accompanied by a burning anger. I understand. I hope that from now on, you will not come across me, if not. Xuanhuan frowned slightly. We have a total of 5 slots. However, we are currently short of 1 person. Hence, there is a need to select another person from the 6 persons who had been defeated. Among the 4 of you, the strongest person will assess them. The strongest among the 4 of them. Without question, it would naturally be Long Fan. However, without going through a duel in front of the audience, even if it were Long Fan, he would not be considered as the number 1. In this case, the 4 of you will have a contest to determine who is the strongest. As we are running low on time, 10 moves will be allowed for every duel. We will determine your strength based on the duel. Xuanhuan's eyes shot a glance Long Fan. You will start first. According to the rankings, you will fight with the 2 remaining people of 3 unmatched Holy Kings first, followed by Su Yu. Remember, you are allowed 10 moves for every match. Long Fan's gloomy expression gradually became a hideous grin. Yao Hong, I bet you never expected this to happen. Yao Hong's flower-like face turned serious. Her throat felt like it had been blocked by something, causing her breathing to become sluggish. She had thought that she would not fight with Long Fan again, but who knew? At that moment, a big, gentle, and warm hand appeared from her back and held her jade-like hand. Senior Yao, let me do it. Having felt his warm palm, Yao Hong's anxiety disappeared. She looked at him and smiled. No need. That smile looked particularly stiff and forced. As one of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings like Long Fan, Yao Hong was well aware of how strong the undefeated mythological Long Fan was. Begin now, Xuanhuan said indifferently. Long Fan's eyes fell on Rong Hanming. You will start first. According to the ranking of the 3 unmatched Holy Kings, the first challenger was naturally Rong Hanming. Rong Hanming took a light breath and his eyes were overflowing with a fierce intention to fight Long Fan. There were not many opportunities for the three unmatched holy kings to fight among themselves. Hence, it was a rare opportunity for him to fight against Long Fan. Senior Long, during the match last year, I had only comprehended winter fishing to stage 1 upper class. As of today, I have honed this legacy level cultivation technique to stage 2 lower class, achieving winter fishing pattern 4. Senior, please handle my attack carefully. Long Fan had a relaxed expression. He then revealed an expression which showed that he was interested. Show it to me. Rong Hanming had an overwhelming fighting spirit. He extended his hand and took out the bamboo pole on his head. Winter fishing pattern 1. Titter. His spiritual energy passed through the bamboo pole, transferred over to the fishing line and was moving in the air with a mysterious path. As they had the same cultivation base, they must treat the battle seriously. Long Fan placed both his hands behind his back. Instead of retreating, he moved forward. He took a step forward and he commented with a dull tone. A divine decree that was mixed the bamboo pole and comprehended at the same time. Hence, it is full of rhythm and its ability is average. Titter. As he spoke, the fishing line wrapped around his silhouette easily and also revolved one round around his neck. The extremely strong Long Fan was bounded easily. However, not only was Rong Hanming not happy, his expression turned grave and he retreated. Snort. Long Fan, who had been trapped by the fishing line, turned into a fragmentary shadow and disappeared. As though he was a ghost, Long Fan appeared at the spot that Rong Hanming stood at previously. If Rong Hanming were a step later, he would have been defeated by one move. Winter fishing pattern 2. Shocked. Rong Hanming made his move seriously. Snort. His fishing line circled the air and headed straight for Long Fan's back with a cunning angle. However, his attack only dispersed a fragmentary shadow. Long Fan himself was shaped like the air and there were no traces of him. Winter fishing pattern 3. Rong Hanming was extremely serious. His sharp fishhook was as cold as snow. It pierced the air and headed for the empty space in front accurately. Whiz. At that moment, a shadow appeared at the empty space which was clearly empty. That shadow extended 2 of his fingers and leisurely clamped the fishhook in between his fingers. The shadow, which was Long Fan, stood with one hand behind his back and also extended 2 fingers of his other hand. With just 2 fingers, he was able to stop Rong Hanming who attacked with his full power. Rong Hanming bit his teeth and gave a light roar. The last attack. Winter fishing pattern 4. Rumble. Puff. It could be seen that the fishing line cracked abruptly and became numerous fishing lines that were finer. Every fishing line was extremely sharp and it sliced the air. With the cold energy that was imbued into it, numerous sharp fishing lines were dancing about crazily in the sky. A snorting sound lingered on faintly. Long Fan was taken by surprise and he was shrouded in the airtight fishing line. His silhouette was minced into pieces in an instant. Rong Hanming's expression sank and his heart thumped. Another fragmentary shadow. At that moment, he could hear a light sigh. This dominating technique will not be broken so quickly and easily. The power of your 4th move is satisfactory. However, its speed is too slow. After his speech, a finger was as if it had appeared from the void and it touched the space in between Rong Hanming's eyebrows. At that moment, Long Fan's silhouette gradually appeared. A layer of thin yellow light gradually disappeared. I have lost. Rong Hanming was depressed. The second elder was full of admiration. Long Fan is indeed outstanding. He had honed Yellow Dragon's green cloud movement, the strongest legacy-level light body cultivation technique in the faction to stage 2 upper class. Hence, his movement technique is brilliant and he remains invincible among the other holy kings of the same cultivation base. Mo Wu took her words to heart. Even if it were she could not look down on Long Fan's movement technique. After defeating his opponent with 4 moves, Long Fan shot his gaze toward Yao Hong and he laughed coldly. Yao Hong, it is your turn now. You had better prepare yourself. Long Fan stopped himself when he conveyed his teachings to Rong Hanming. However, that did not mean that Yao Hong would get the same treatment. Humph. If you wish for me to fight, I will fight. Who is scared of you? Yao Hong also had her own pride. Whiz. With a grab of her jade-like hands, she took out her jade-like bamboo flute. Chilly Mountain's green spot. Yao Hong's pretty face turned serious. She opened her mouth slightly and a whistling sound from the bamboo flute reverberated leisurely across the arena. The audience's hearts felt chilly as if they had seen a scene with winter. In the snow amidst the desolate and cold mountain, all beings either withered or died. However, a green spot remained. When the audience regained their senses, they were shocked. Their mind had been affected by the sound unconsciously. If they were at the arena, they would. Atop the arena, Long Han stood with both his hands behind his back. He had a relaxed expression and the corners of his mouth carried a mockery. A sound wave attack. If a movement technique is faster than sound, then the sound wave attack will be useless. Although your move is strong, it is a pity that it is useless against me. Long Fan took a step forward. It was evident that his fragmentary shadow was taking a step forward. However, his body flashed in front of Yao Hong and he thrust his palm toward her head. Yao Hong's pretty eyes became serious and she was not flustered. She wriggled her lips and the tempo of the whistling sound from the bamboo flute became faster. Layers of sound waves which have turned into a substance as though it was waves spread across the surrounding like the ripple effect. Rumble. Bang. Long Fan's palm attack was repelled by the substance-like sound waves on the spot. The second elder's eyes shone brilliantly. What an impressive achievement of the sound wave. When the sound waves turn into a substance, its speed and power will increase by twofold. For this book of Chilly Mountain's green spot, which is a legacy-level cultivation technique, she had achieved stage 2 lower class and it is very close to the level of upper class. Mo Wu's beautiful eyes shrank. It is unexpectedly that Yao Hong's improvement would be so great within a year. The number of disciples who had achieved stage 2 upper class for a legacy-level cultivation technique can be counted with my fingers. Stage 2 of a legacy-level cultivation technique was a threshold. Among the many disciples in the faction, only Dragon Realm disciples with outstanding talents could comprehend a legacy-level cultivation technique to stage 2. Once Yao Hong makes a breakthrough to upper class, her abilities would not be much weaker from Long Fan. Her hidden abilities had indeed caused everyone to be surprised. Long Fan frowned and retreated for the first time. He did not calm down. He became colder. Humph. You have really hidden your abilities deeply. However, it is a pity that it is still far from enough to defeat me. Yellow Dragon's green cloud movement. Long Fan gave a light roar. His body emitted spiritual energy which was like the cloud continuously, and the spiritual energy lingered around his body. His silhouette disappeared into the spiritual energy. When looked at it from afar, it really looked as if a yellow dragon was moving about. Whiz. The yellow cloud surged forward with a power as if it was a yellow dragon which shook the blue sky. That extremely fast speed had caused the people to click their tongue in surprise. Mo Wu was shocked. What? He still had hidden another speed. The second elder was surprised as well, and a thread of seriousness appeared in his eyes for the first time. Perhaps, it will be difficult for Su Yu to defeat Long Fan. Long Fan had honed his yellow dragon's green cloud movement to the point that it is very close to stage 2 top class. Mo Wu's clear eyes revealed a rare fighting intention. I am looking forward to his growth. Even for me, I had only honed my legacy-level cultivation technique to stage 3 lower class. Yao Hong's expression changed slightly and her substance-like sound waves continued to spread like the ripple effect. However, as that yellow dragon was extremely fast, her substance-like sound wave was unable to catch up to it. Rustle. At that moment, Long Fan's speed had surpassed the substance-like sound waves and he flew toward Yao Hong with cold eyes. Yao Hong knew that her situation was not optimistic. However, with Long Fan's speed, she could only catch a glimpse of his cold eyes clearly. After which, a palm was thrust onto her abdomen. At that moment, her throat immediately tasted the taste of blood and a lump of power damaged her organs easily. In a situation where she was unable to block the attack, she took a heavy blow and suffered a fatal injury. Long Fan was ruthless and he did not have any intention to let her off. As Yao Hong was sent flying, Long Fan appeared next to her with a flash and his fist headed for her head. With a speed that even a Dragon Realm Level 1 considered imposing, even Shi Ruolin, who was very close to her, could not help her. "You had better lean down." Long Fan's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. A wind which scraped her face and caused her to feel pain accompanied Long Fan's fist as Long Fan's fist headed for her face. Thump. It was evident that Long Fan's extremely fast punch was a few inches away from Yao Hong's cheek. However, his short kill punch actually punched the air. Because of his inertia, Long Fan staggered and he almost fell down. His eyes were filled with surprise and he cried out in alarm. Which senior helped her? Without question, a person who could rescue Yao Hong, who was a few inches away from Long Fan's punch in a split second where normal people could not even react, must be a senior with a frightening movement technique that was unimaginable. At the very least, he was a senior who was of the Dragon Realm. "Senior, are you referring to me?" A familiar voice echoed near his ears. The voice had indeed echoed near his ears. The voice was filled with warmth. The person who spoke was behind him. Buzz. Long Fan's body trembled and he was extremely astonished. What kind of frightening speed did that person have such that he could rescue Yao Hong, who was right in front of him and also circled to his back before he had any time to react? End of the chapter. The Divine Nine Dragon will be read in 5 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.